apparently some commercials. So I just wanted to give a warning. Now I know this is very, very unpopular, and but you have to stand for what you see as true. And we'll just go through the last letter, or one of the last letters of Paulus. As I understand it, it is the last letter that we have from Paulus, or Shaul, as he also is called. We'll go to 2 Timothy. Oh, maybe I should just fix this like this. We'll go to 2 Timothy. And we'll see what Paul says, or Paulus. 2 Timothy 1:15. Now again, this is a very unpopular doctrine, but you have to stand on what you perceive, right? So this is what Paulus says. Let's turn the camera around here. This thou knowest, and he's talking to Timothy in regards to this letter. This thou knowest, that all, that would be all, right? All means all, right? That all they which are in Asia be turned away from me, of whom are Phailus and Hermogenes. Or Hermogenes, yeah. So, what is Paulus saying here? He's saying that all the people, have left him in Asia Minor, in Asia. And that's the area of nowadays Turkey. It's West Turkey. So you see that Paulus is saying this, and you have to wonder, why would all Asia leave Paulus? We know he was in Ephesus, and teaching. And that would, of course, include Ephesus, right? All Asia. Now, there are different congregations in Asia, and we know they didn't leave Yeshua, Jesus, but they apparently left Paul. Isn't that interesting? What would be the reason for leaving this great apostle to the Gentiles, right? Well, maybe they found out that there were some problems with this guy. So, let's go to the next one. We'll go to Revelation, where Yeshua, our Master, is speaking to the 7 congregation in Asia, and by the hand of John, the Apostle John. So let's go there and see what it says. And this is for the congregation in Ephesus. And of course, we know Paulus was in Ephesus teaching through 2 or 3 years. But anyway, let's see here. Let's go for it. So let's start with 2:1 and just get the context of it. So, unto the angel or the messenger of the congregation of Ephesus, write these things, saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. That would be Yeshua. What does Yeshua say to Ephesus? He says, I know thy works, and thy labor, and thy patience, and how thou cannot bear them which are evil. And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles, and are not, and hast found them liars. You have to wonder who Yeshua is talking about, right? How many people do you think in the first century are running around and calling themselves apostles? Anyway, so we have the area of Asia Minor where, it's written to 7 congregations. And I pretty much think if you read those 7 letters and begin to, pinpoint the pieces of the puzzle, it exposes Paulus. You see, Paulus thinks it's okay to eat meat sacrificed to false gods. He even thinks it okay to sit in the pagan temple as long as you're not seen by one of these weak ones from Jerusalem. Yeah, So anyway, he has a lot of things in regards of. Well, if you actually read these 7 letters, Yeshua himself is rebuking in regards of the doctrine of eating food sacrificed to false gods. Now, besides that, you have the book of you have the book of Acts. And the book of Acts says 3 times that there are 4 necessary commandments for the Gentiles, for the new Gentiles coming into the faith. And one of those commandments is not to defile yourself with foods sacrificed to false gods. So, apparently, according to the 7 letters in the book of Revelation, it seems like someone must have gone around and sown the idea that it's okay to eat food sacrificed to false gods. I wonder who that could be. Who could possibly be that, and actually is still doing damage in our days. The people following Paulus get the idea that it's okay to eat anything and everything because Paulus says. Well, actually, one time he actually tells the truth, but, he has a way of flipping, from one thing to another, and he tells the truth and then he flips it around. He's very good at this, He's very sneaky. He's very clever. He's very slickery. And anyway, that's not to say that everything that he says is wrong, because it's not. But the leaven of the Pharisee, you have to be careful. Anyway, so yeah. I can't remember all the places where these things are in regards of Paulus speaking about it, that, we have this knowledge, that, it doesn't matter in regards of what we eat or what we don't eat and all that, because again, we have this understanding, this knowledge, right? But if one of those weak ones in Jerusalem and all that, don't be seen by those, that wouldn't be so good. Or if someone comes and tells you this is meat sacrificed to a false god, don't eat it. Not because of you yourself, because you have this knowledge, right, but because of this weak brother, right? Yeah. Hypocrisy at its best, You just, you pick up the pieces and here and there, and you just find more and more issues with Paulus. And who started the Judaizing thing? Paulus. What does people use to attack Judaizers? Which you have the Romanizers and you have the Judaizers. That's pretty much that's the two groups you have. You have the Romanizers Romanizing in regards of Roman doctrines, pagan doctrines, and all that, and then you have the Judaizers upholding the Bible and the Torah. And of course, the Romanizers don't like the Judaizers, and the Romanizers actually, besides twisting the words of God and distorting the words of God and promoting Roman doctrines, they also tend to persecute and slay and murder the Judaizers. And that has pretty much happened down throughout history. So you have these two groups, the Judaizers, which always they use it as something bad, right? The Judaizers, Well, Jesus was a Jew, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. So you have the Judaizers, you have the Romanizers. The question is, which one are you going to follow? Either you will stand on God's law, or you will stand on the Antichrist law, which is the so-called Pope, and of course Yeshua said, the seeds will grow up together, and they are growing up together until the harvest. This is a prophecy that Yeshua told us, that, first he would sow the good eatable wheat, and he did. And then afterwards, Satan would come and sow his own, the poisonous darnel. So, what was Yeshua warning his disciples about? He was warning them about wolves in sheep clothing, something that makes it out to be Christian, yet is not. That was the warnings that Yeshua gave us, and we have all the puzzle pieces. And a lot of people are falling for these things. Yeah, it's very sad. And now we don't even know who the Antichrist is anymore. Every single Protestant knew who the Antichrist was in the past. Do we know that now? I went down to the beach in summer and I went around asking Lutherans who the Antichrist was. I found one person, one single person that I didn't have to, push too much to actually get to understand, that was an older guy. And I just had to push a little, and then he began to sing a song in regards of from Martin Luther's song from 1542, and he told me it had been censored. So that opened the gate for me looking into that and finding a huge amount of resources in regards of music based on scripture, and that was interesting. But yeah, and if you actually, you're talking to these so-called Lutherans that don't even know who the Antichrist is, and Martin Luther, if anything, was very, very, very clear who the Antichrist is. And you can just read his book from 1545, that's a year before he died, that is called Against the Roman Papacy, an Institution of the Devil. Yep, yeah. That was the greatest enemy of Christ, of Yeshua, in the eyes of Martin Luther. Yeah, but then people will proclaim, oh, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. No, not the Jews, not the Jews. The Jews do have issues, yes, that, we can agree on that. But it's not the Jews. It's not the Jews. It's the Romanist. It's Roman Catholicism. And the head of Roman Catholicism is the high pagan priest of solar worship. That's the Pontifex Maximus. And he thinks he is the head of all Christianity, which of course the Protestants rejected and denied. So yeah. Anyway, Yeshua was warning us about this wicked system, from the very beginning of sowing, Satan sowing the poisonous seeds, the lawless seeds. Yeah. So we have, he is warning us about this. He's not warning us about Muhammad. Muhammad is a stinking plain wolf. He's clearly a false prophet. It's very, you should be able to smell him miles away without any problem, You see Mohammedans, pagan Mohammedans, and yes, they are pagans. They are rejecting the Son of God. They might come and say, hey, we believe in Jesus or Yeshua. And you can ask them, do you believe that Yeshua is the Son of God? And they will say, no, we don't believe that. Oh, okay. Do you believe he was executed on the tree for the sins of the world? No, we don't believe that. Oh, so you don't believe he was resurrected from the dead? Oh, no. So you don't believe he is God in the flesh? No. Oh, okay. So you made up your own version of Yeshua, which is a fictive, non-historical person that, following a prophet nearly 600 years after the event that never saw anything, that never heard anything, that never ate with the master, that never walked with him, and so forward, You're going to trust that source against the first century sources of the, of the real, apostles and disciples and all that, Oh, okay. Well, just okay. I think it's lunacy, or lunacy. In regards to Mohammedanism, that's lunacy. In regards to Roman Catholicism, that's just solacy. Just crazy solacy. Anyway, of course, it is interesting where you have the sun and the moon and all that, and you have Roman Catholicism and Mohammedanism pretty much being two sides of the same coin. Now, of course, Rome is the head. But yeah. Hating true Christians, the devil is very clever and very slick, and Roman Catholicism is the masterpiece of Satan, And when people say you shouldn't go after the Roman Catholics and this, and you are a Catholic basher or anti-Catholic and all that, is that bad? You're telling the truth, Oh yeah, I'm going to stand and tell the truth. And the Roman Catholics have all these different ways of trying to shut our mouth. And they have been very, 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 very successful and remove history from the Protestants. Because again, the Protestants have no idea what the Protestants was protesting against. And they don't even know who the Antichrist is, something that every single Protestant knew in the past. And you have to wonder, why is it that we don't know that? And going back to the, down at the summer beach thing and all that, where the different congregations of Lutherans, which is the state church in Denmark, they were collected together and all that. And I went down there to, ask questions, and whatever, so, not a single one I asked knew who the Antichrist is. Except that older man, that actually, had the song of Martin Luther, a children's song against the two arch enemies of Jesus Christ. Actually, I have the melody on my phone, but I haven't finished it, and I lost all my notes as well, so I never got to... But the melody is pretty good, and I guess no one really knows that melody anymore either. But anyway, sadly the text is not finished, but the melody is a short one. Excuse me. So let's see if we can get it going here. Oh, it has some problems apparently. There we go. So that's the melody of Martin Luther's children's song, and it pretty much goes again and again and again, Anyway, and the melody, the line number 2 has been censored in many, many versions. And that's talking about the two arch enemies of Jesus Christ. That would be the Roman papacy and the Mohammedans. You see, there are two fake versions of Yeshua in the world, in the field. And there's a lot of false versions of Yeshua out there, of course. But two primarily versions that you should know about. Of course, we have the Mohammedan version of Yeshua, which is only a prophet. He's only a prophet. He's not the Son of God. He's not God in the flesh. He didn't die for the sins of the world. And of course, thereby he wasn't resurrected from the dead. So, that's one version. That's the Mohammedan version. And 1.8 billion people are following the false prophet Muhammad. Or Muhammad, whatever you want to call that guy. He was a stinking wolf, He doesn't even have sheep clothing on him. But we have to be aware that Yeshua was not warning us about these kinds of wolves. He was warning us about wolves in sheep clothing, because the wolves are pretty easy to spot. Or should be very easy to spot for any Christian out there. What Yeshua was concerned about was wolves in sheep clothing. That was the danger that he was pointing us to. That if possible could deceive the elect. Yeah, false prophets, that could, if possible, deceive the elect. So, yeah, do we have any one of those? Yeah, we have. I think it actually begins in the first century. And wouldn't you expect Satan to react pretty quickly? Yeah, you would. He's going to throw everything he has, because now the truth had entered the world, and now the truth is spreading in the world. You don't think Satan would react to that, the ruler of this world, having had deceived all the people, and now the truth are going out there and ruining his deceptions and lies. Of course, he would react, with any means possible, and he did. Yeah. So then there's the other version of Yeshua, which is false. And that is the deceptive, the very deceptive version. You see, Roman Catholicism makes it out to be Christianity, which it's not. And just looking at history, it should be very clear that Roman Catholicism is not Christianity. These people are the children of Satan. They are working for the devil, and if they're not children of Satan, they will come out of this wicked system of the whole, led by the Antichrist and beast of the number 666. Anyway, so these people are liars, they're deceivers, they're twisters, they are, rewriting history, twisting the scriptures, and worshipping a cookie Jesus. Yes. They're actually worshipping a cookie. I'm not making it up. Actually, that was something Protestant knew in the past, and that they rejected. So now Martin Luther still did have issues in regards to the cookie. And we still 500 years down the line in Denmark apparently are holding on to a false doctrine of the cookie being Jesus, That's just utter bullshit and utter nonsense. But anyway, other places like England, you actually had to deny the cookie Jesus and the Mariolatry and the, praying to the dead and all that and so forward, if you actually wanted to be king in England. You see, they understood these things was, abominations. But in Denmark, we apparently stopped pulling rope from Satan. I have no idea what happened to the Danish people, but apparently 500 years, being able to read the Bible for 500 years, apparently is not enough time to actually get us closer to the truth. Actually, we'll just continue with these Roman false doctrines. And so we have a lot of bullshit in Denmark, and no one seems to want to pull rope from Satan in this country. And of course, if you do, it seems like no one really cares, and you're just seen as a nutcase, right? So, actually, Søren Kierkegaard, which is a very popular man in the world, apparently, popular Danish guy, was talking about the corruption in the churches, That's 150 years ago. Let's see if I can actually find it. And it hasn't become better since that time, I'll tell you that. It has become worse. So, but, he talks about, a standalone. They didn't even want to respond. They just ignored him, They just ignored what he said. And apparently that... Where is that information? That's a good question. So many documents everywhere, so it's hard to figure out where they are. Let's see here. It's by Melito. Oh, so much. Nope. Don't know where the documents are at the moment. But anyway, he knew the system was totally corrupt, But he's read. Oh, actually, maybe I put it on my. Maybe I have it on my Facebook actually. Let's see if we can find it. So, but the Roman Catholic version, that's the thing that we really have to be aware of. And now people are running back. You see, the special soldiers of Satan that was made against the protest and to get those Protestants, Protestants, you get it? Protesting the Antichrist and the whole, actually, have been very successful. These, Knights of Mary, as they were called in the beginning, as I understand it. They're called the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus. They always use words of Christian words, and they just use Christianity as a surface clothing, and it's just pagan bullshit and satanic worship, and It's pretty much the most demonic system in the world. Because the danger of Roman Catholicism is that they're making themselves out to be something they're not, and the people, the world believes that, so many believes that this is really Christianity. It's sun worship. Look at that. He's standing with the cookie Jesus and the sunburst around it. Actually, it's an interesting website in regards to pagan sun worship or solar worship and Catholicism. It has some interesting things. There was actually also an interesting sermon. The problem was that he, at around 1 hour and 20 minutes, he begins to attack the festivals of Jehovah, and says, we shouldn't keep them either. So apparently we shouldn't keep anyone. Yeah, okay, give me a break. And of course we know that Asia Minor, as far as my research goes, that Asia Minor kept the festivals of Jehovah. And of course, the most information we have is in regards of Passover and Easter, in regards of Roman tradition, because we see the conflict between Rome and Asia Minor. Well, that's the one that we have most information on. But as far as I can see and gather of the puzzle pieces that we have left, Asia Minor, which is the area, by the way, that rejected Paulus, kept those festivals. So. And we have a wonderful letter if you want to go read it. It's a wonderful letter. We see the battle between the Judaizers and the Romanizers throughout history. But anyway, we have a wonderful letter from Polycrates to Bishop Victor in regards of Passover. You can go read that. It's a wonderful wonderful letter. So let's see here. No, that was in regards of when you read Kierkegaard saying, I stand alone, nothing has changed today, besides getting worse. No one wants to know the truth. You're censored, quarantined, banned, and kicked out of churches. There seems to be no hunger for the truth as the world lays back and enjoys its wicked ways. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's the quotation. No, no, no. If you are really serious about getting God closer, then consign the whole system of the established Christianity with its lying gang of preachers and professors, these Christian experts who in mass provide an excellent commentary on every Bible passage to death and the devil. Yep, I guess he couldn't have said it better, yeah, it's very sad. So that was Kierkegaard, Søren Kierkegaard, which is pretty popular out in the world. I do have articles, where you see one quotation after another in regards to Kierkegaard. He didn't look positively in regards of Paul either. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. So you see that when people are being led into only the letters of Paul, you see where it goes. I remember in Jerusalem, I was talking to some guy, and he was very pro Paul. So he used Paul, and actually he seemed to only use Paul all the time. And I used Jesus. So he would flip a Paul, and I would flip a Jesus, and well, that was some what shall we say? Yeah. Anyway, he didn't like that. The question is, if you have Yeshua saying one thing and you have Paulus saying another thing, who are you going to trust? And that's the question. In any case, yeah, that was interesting. That was an interesting experience as well. He rebuked me in the name of Yeshua. He stood up and rebuked me in the name of Yeshua. And I just remember I felt like I felt like something was protecting me. I felt like something around me that was, protecting me. That was interesting experience. So yeah, I don't know. So there seemed to be a conflict there. Yeah, so that's the thing, I just it took me a long time, in regards to figuring out that was well, I guess, it already in the beginning, when I first read the New Testament, I came to the book of Acts, and then it began to be about Paulus, and it's just this wonderful message and all that became really, really, really scratchy. So I skipped over the letters of Paulus and read further, and I read them in the last part, and there's just one problem after another in his letters, and um, so we know that there went two gospels out in the world. The question is which of them are true. You see, two gospels in the name of Yeshua went out in the world. If you read the prologues of Marcion, now that is from a Pauline perspective, so you have to be aware this is from a Pauline perspective, but you can still learn from, but the prologues are attacking, the Judaizers who are teaching the scriptures and the testimony of Yeshua in regards to salvation in Yeshua HaMashiach. So that's the two gospels going on in the world. One is leading away from the law in regards of lawlessness, and another is going to the law for instructions. And then you have to question which one is true. Well, and that's the Romanizers and the Judaizers. And again, it's always when people use the word Judaizers, is put on as a negative term, right? Judaizing and Judaizer and all that, but it's not bad. You want to be a Romanizer, breaking down the law of Jehovah and promoting the laws of the Antichrist? You think that is better? So we see this battle going on down through history, and it's still ongoing, and it will continue ongoing until Yeshua returns. So, yeah. And, cast the Antichrist into the fire at that point. You see, the Roman Catholics want to make fun of people, oh yeah, but twisting as always and all that, twisting the words, and you really have to, I really did not know that people would be so deprived or going into so much depravity, I think it's called, that they would actually go around and twisting and lying and hating the truth so much. So, but then, you see so much bullshit from Roman Catholics, Roman Papists, or Roman Poopists, as I call them, or following the great stinking Pope, that unholy faker. We're not to call anyone on earth Father, right? But him who is in the heavens. And what does Roman Catholicism do? Father might this, Father might that, even going so far to say, Holy Father, right? We're not to call anyone rabbis either, and that's another direction, by the way. But only one rabbi, and that's Yeshua. Anyway, yeah, any case. What was it? Oh yeah. So for example, you can see Roman Catholics coming out and saying, yeah, but you said the last Pope was the Antichrist and all that, and he wasn't, and blah blah blah. Well, that failed and blah 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 bullshit and all that. Just give me a break. Every single man in the seat and office of the papacy or the papacy is in that position of the beast of the number 666. You guys have to study your Bible in regards to the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. You can have multiple kings representing a beast. So, yeah, anyway. So, as far as I can see, we have the 8, which is one of the 7. That would be number 6. The 6th head. I think the number 7 head was the dukes. I think they were called, I can't remember. Yerk has something real. Sadly, he deleted me from Skype. He didn't want to talk to me. So, but he has some good information. He still has a good information in regards of history, reading Protestant books and all that. He's called Yuckler66 on YouTube. And we have another that was actually my favorite, but he doesn't want to talk to me either. That was what it was called. I can't remember his name. What was his name? I can't remember. But I have problems with Paulus, and thereby people have problems with me. And I just have to stand on what I perceive as truth. And what I have done of research and all that. And so of course I can't be deceptive about this, just to get along, to go along and all that, or go along to get along and so forward. I have to stand what I perceive as truth. But that's really a problem for a lot of people in regards of rejecting Paulus. But yeah, two gospels going out in the world. One is leading away from the law of Jehovah, and one is leading you to the law and the instructions of Jehovah. The question is, one of these gospels, the question is, which one of these gospels are true? Well, we can go to Yeshua, where people are saying, Lord, Lord, haven't we done wonderful names in your, wonderful things in your name, and, prophesied in your name, and driven out demons in your name and all that. They sound like Christians, don't they? Lord, Lord, right? Calling him Lord. And what does Yeshua say? I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity, lawlessness. And actually in Greek it's anomos, which means no or not, in regards to the a, and nomos is in regards to the law. So as far as I can see, it could actually be translated as you that are without the law. Now, which law is Yeshua talking about? You think it's the Roman law he's talking about, or maybe the law of Jehovah? So, and you see all the examples of this, but yeah. So I think we should be aware that we have a problem here, and we have to discern, because the devil is very, very, very sneaky. So yeah, that's not to say that we are perfect, but Yeshua is our master, right? Did he keep the festivals found in the Torah? Yes, he did. Did he keep the festivals that we are now keeping in regards to Roman traditions? Pagan Roman traditions? No. No, he did not. So maybe we should turn back to what he actually did instead of what we are now doing. It seems like it doesn't seem like there's, so few seems to want to, We don't care anymore. We literally don't care about the truth anymore. We don't care. We're selling our children over to the devil, and the world is now gathering around the Antichrist of Scripture, the historical, biblical, prophetic Antichrist. What is the name of the other guy that also had a lot of good Protestant? They're just reading Protestant books is wonderful. I should know his name. But, they don't want to talk to me, so, I guess a lot of people don't want to really, when you go so far to say that, so far, whatever you want to call it, to reject that, to reject Paulus, people don't want to really, that's apparently taking it too far for people. But again, 2 Timothy 2 Timothy 1:15. Clearly, all Asia rejected Paulus on his own words. And then when you begin to sniff out his letters and all that, you find one issue after another, and it's just, yeah. Yeah. We're already tired. That's interesting. I guess the berberines are really taking a toll on me. So that's antifungal as well. But I just want to try to kick it, as much as I can. But yeah. So yeah, 2 Timothy 1:15 and Revelation 2:2. You can go look at that. Yeah. So, and in regards of lawlessness, there are others. If you read the book of Matthew, it's just, you could find one thing here. And Yeshua even say, the law shall stand on, it's easier for heaven and earth to disappear or to go away than for the law, than for one tittle or thing from the law to perish, right? Well, is the heaven still out there? Is the earth still out there? Last time I looked out, yeah, it was still there. It hasn't passed away. So if it's easier for that to pass away than for the law to pass away, well, the law must still be valid, right? Um, so yeah, but in any case, we're called to be disciples of Yeshua. So if Yeshua was a Jew and he kept the law of Moses to perfection, shouldn't that be our goal? Now, I'm not saying we're perfect. That's why we need the ransom of Yeshua that died for the sins of the world on the tree. But, in regards of learning to become more like him, right? And stand for the truth, be the salt of the earth. Because again, if the salt loses its flavor, what is it? What is it for? What's purpose is there then for it? Then just to be trodden under the feet of men. Something in regards to that. So yeah, it's just. Oh yeah. Yeah. Apparently. What is happening? Are we closing down? Oh, we're closing down. Closing down. Close.